Welcome to this deep dive. Today, we're stepping away from the bigger picture, the global stuff, and looking at something much closer to home and, frankly, much more unsettling. It's this idea that the worst threats, the things that really scare us, often come from people we know, people we trust, or just random moments.
Right. And our focus today is really trying to understand how that happens. We've collected some pretty disturbing stories about manipulation, sudden violence, people who seem normal one minute and dangerous the next. We want to dissect the mechanics, How does someone go from charming to coercive or from quiet to violent? It's about spotting those red flags, especially when they're hidden.
Yeah, hidden behind charm or just normalcy. That's the thread, isn't it? How easily things can fall apart when you misplace trust, or maybe ignore that little voice telling you something's off.
Let's start with the control aspect. Cases where charisma isn't just a personality trait, it's a weapon. Exactly, it's a tool. And these individuals, they're often quite strategic. They don't just demand control up front. They build up this, well, you could almost call it a debt. They give and give.
Until you feel like you owe them.
Precisely. You feel obligated.
Like the story with Francis. He joins this established group of friends and boom, he's suddenly indispensable. Gets Hannah a better job, covers someone's flood damage costs, organizes help for Tina's move.
He built this huge bank of goodwill, of social capital, very deliberately.
And then cashed it in. Started small, right? Like insisting they go to his preferred Vietnamese place instead of getting wings, making them feel almost bad for wanting something simple.
It's conditioning, training them to accept his choices as the right ones, even in tiny things.
But then it escalated. Massively. This mandatory annual glamping trip he organized.
Hours from anywhere, totally dependent on him.
And that's when he demands everyone strips completely naked for a swim in a freezing waterfall. A few people, including the narrator, refused.
And what did he do? He called in the debt. I got you that job, Hannah. You need to trust me on this.
Was it just about humiliation? Or something else?
Oh, it's a tactic. A classic one, really. Breaking down boundaries. When you force people into a shared, vulnerable, maybe embarrassing situation like that, you bond them tighter to you, the leader, and pull them away from their own sense of self, their normal rules.
And the speed. The friends who did go along with it, Ollie, Julian, Richard, Zach, they turned on the ones who refused, surrounded them, pulling at their clothes.
Chanting his name.
Yeah. Decades of friendship just gone, replaced by loyalty to Francis. Instantly.
It shows how quickly a group dynamic can flip into something quite sinister, like a little cult cell.
And sometimes that control looks like, well, family concern. The story about Lucinda, the mother-in-law, that was more of a slow burn. Coercive control, right?
Definitely. Textbook slow boil. She starts off all welcoming and sets up these mandatory Sunday lunches. Seems nice enough at first.
But the lunches become lectures. Telling the new wife her career doesn't matter, that she's getting too old at 28, needs to have kids now.
Yeah, chipping away at her autonomy, bit by bit, all framed as just, motherly advice or worry.
Until the mask is completely dropped. Lucinda actually confessed. She'd been calling the wife's target grad schools, contacting her boss through some friend of an aunt connection, just bad-mouthing her.
Actively sabotaging her professional life.
Trying to basically destroy any option except becoming a housewife.
See, that's the shift. It's not just suggesting or manipulating choices anymore. It's active destruction of alternatives. Lucinda didn't just want her to choose that life.
She wanted to make sure there were no other choices. Which brings up the husband, Eric. Where was he in all this?
Eric. That was the final blow, wasn't it? When she confronted him, he was just cold, like Lucinda.
Admitted he hoped she'd come around. And then that sickening part he actually hoped getting her pregnant would help her accept it all.
Right. So was he just brainwashed by his mother his whole life? Or was he an active participant?
Does it matter? Either way, he used the marriage, that trust, to basically enable Lucinda's agenda.
The mechanism's the same. The closest person becomes the enforcer.
Okay, so that's the slow, calculated stuff. But then there are these moments where things just erupt, where the mask doesn't just slip, it shatters. Like Crazy Al, the dock worker, World War II vet.
Yeah, severe PTSD, couldn't handle loud noises, kept him kind of isolated in the equipment shed. Everyone knew him, knew his issues. It was sort of managed.
Until that South Korean cargo ship docked. He just stopped what he was doing, stared at it, then grabbed a crowbar and walked onto the ship. No warning, just intent.
And the result was brutal. He killed 2 Korean sailors, injured several more before he was shot and killed himself.
But the backstory gives it this chilling context. Al had been in a really horrific Japanese POW camp.
And accounts from that specific camp mention that some of the Korean guards who'd been conscripted by the Japanese were notoriously cruel, sometimes even worse than the Japanese guards themselves, trying to prove their loyalty, maybe lots of beatings, torture.
So it wasn't random. Al saw something, maybe a uniform detail, a face, something about this ship that triggered this very specific, decades-old memory.
He wasn't just lashing out blindly. It seems like he recognized his specific tormentors or people he believed were them. It was targeted vengeance. That quiet focus is, terrifying.
Then you have cases where the instability is hidden, but the signs are there, dismissed as just odd behavior, like the coworker.
Yeah.
Right.
Claimed she was stable, medicated for schizophrenia, but living with her. Red flags everywhere, stealing sleeping pills.
A total lack of hygiene, hair, nails, the smell of urine in the room.
And the sleep deprivation stuff, making coffee at 4 a.m. but then burning the dry powder in a pan, that's not just quirky, that's deliberate disruption.
And the narrator felt something was really wrong, but the truth was even darker. M hadn't just accidentally walked into a neighbor's apartment before, like she claimed.
No, she broke in and was found sneaking up to a sleeping baby with a knife. The father woke up just in time. And then she stopped her meds, the Abilify. Full-blown psychosis, believed everything must burn to save her family.
So she burned her apartment down, ended up charged with aggravated arson.
And the key thing there, her friends kept telling the narrator she was overreacting to the earlier signs.
Yeah, that social pressure to normalize things, to not make a fuss, it can silence you when you really need to speak up.
Absolutely. And speaking of calculated behavior, let's talk about Jay. Or Vincent, as he later called himself. Pure sociopathy, it seems.
Even as a kid, he figured out how to work the system. Smashed a teacher's car window, blamed it on some goth kids.
Got away with just a week's suspension, walked around saying he was untouchable, learned early on how to manipulate.
And that manipulation just escalated.
Yeah.
Leading to murdering his own grandparents.
Over what? An argument about booze in a Christmas hamper. The triviality of it.
Contrasted with the violence, stabbing so deep they left marks on the bone.
And then the legal maneuvering. Claiming schizophrenia, hearing voices, all designed, it seems, to get him into a mental institution instead of a maximum security prison.
It wasn't a break from reality. It was a strategy. He knew exactly what he was doing to get the outcome he wanted. Infuriating for everyone who saw through it.
Okay, let's shift to external threats. Danger from strangers, where you have to react instantly.
Right, like the two women camping out in Montana, way out there.
They notice a car, recording them, and the license plate is obscured. That's an immediate nope.
Totally. Primal warning bells. So they did the smart thing, slept locked in their car, left the tent up as a decoy.
And that decision likely saved them. Because the next morning, they find this freshly killed deer, gutted, hung up right over their empty tent.
With the limbs arranged in a circle. That's not just random violence. That's ritualistic. It's a message. Calculated terror.
Chilling. Or think about the 18-year-old working in the bakery. This guy comes in.
Gets right in her space.
Yeah.
Cuts her off while she's talking. Leans in close. Asks if she's 14, 15. Calls her beautiful. Just wrong?
That immediate gut feeling, discomfort, danger. And it was validated instantly.
Yeah, her coworker used the name from the point-of-sale system, looked him up. Registered offender.
It just highlights how crucial it is to trust that physical reaction, that sudden sense of, this isn't right, don't dismiss it.
And finally, the stalking ex, the guy with the explosive temper, the control issues.
Constant honking, 60 texts, 100 missed calls after the breakup. Clear signs.
She did everything right. Moved, changed her routine, cut off all contact, avoided him completely.
But he still found her new job, a place he should have had no way of knowing about.
And sent her a picture. Zoomed in. Of her. At her desk.
Just confirming, I'm still watching. The threat isn't over. It's immediate.
When we pull all this together, what's the main takeaway?
I think it's that danger rarely arrives wearing a sign. It looks like Frances, the super helpful friend, or Lucinda, the concerned mother-in-law, or M, the quirky roommate.
It hides in plain sight.
Exactly. And the best defense, maybe the only real defense, is paying attention, noticing the small things that don't add up, the inconsistencies.
And trusting that gut feeling. Even when people around you, friends, family, like M's friends or Eric, tell you you're wrong or you're overreacting.
We've covered a lot today. Calculated manipulation like Frances and Lucinda, trauma-fueled vengeance like Al, mental breaks like M's sociopathy like J. Vincent, predation like the bakery guy or the camper stalker.
Knowing these patterns exist, seeing how they work, That's really the first step toward being more vigilant, isn't it?
It has to be.
It really makes you think, though. Most people are fine, obviously, harmless. But the potential for this kind of darkness, it could be right next door, in roles you expect to be safe. So the question for you listening is maybe this. How does hearing about Francis weaponizing help, or Lucinda twisting concern into sabotage, how does that change how you look at offers of help or expressions of concern from people in your own life? Something to think about.
We hope this discussion has given you some clarity, maybe some tools for navigating things with a bit more awareness.
Thank you for joining us for this deep dive. Stay safe out there, and we'll talk to you next time.